As a kid, my favorite TV show was one of powerful fairies, powerful women empowerment, and also very cool, like sparkly visual. Come with me in the mid 2000s and let's experience the Winx Club together. This video is going to be more of like a podcast type of situation. I invited my best friend over here to have a conversation about the Winx. So there is something in the background. I redesigned the entire Winx Club, but it's going to be slow. So if you want, you can just sit back, relax, and listen to us talk. Again, my name is Gabrielle. Welcome back if you know me. And let's get this thing started. If you're like me, put this shit in 2 times speed and let's go. Part 1. The plot. So, let's start with presentation. So, hi, my name is Gab again, and welcome back. I want today to talk with my best friend in the whole wide world. So, here is Angel. They are my best friend. They use they, them pronouns. Please respect that. So, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Angel. They, them pronouns. I don't know what else I can say here except, yeah.
All their links are going to be down below. They are my best friend. They are very, very cool. They're very nice. We talk basically every day right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to share my current brain rot or whatever, the Winx Club. So I have a very personal relationship with the Winx Club, which I don't think you do, right? Like,
yeah, no, I haven't watched the show as a kid. Like, I remember reading the books, but I never.
That is very funny. That
Yeah,
the way you
I never.
interacted with the cartoon versus with the books.
I never interacted with the cartoon or the series. Yeah, only through the books.
Which is fine. Like, it's totally cool. It's just very funny. On my end, I was very into the Winx Club as a kid. The I was in a fandom even in Friends. I had like friends from the Winx. I was watching it on anytime I could. I found it when I was like 4 years old on YTV in English when I didn't understand English, and then I was like captivated by the show. So yeah, if we start by why it attracted me to Winx Club, it was definitely the colors and like the environments, like the way Winx is so captivating as a kid. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk a little bit about it later on, but I think that we both agreed that Winx is a lot of colors that are very like exciting, and
Yeah,
like sometimes we
definitely.
don't know what's going on, but it's like ooh pretty.
It's perfect
So
for the ADHD, you know.
it is. So in this video, we're really only going to talk about the cartoon, and there's going to be a follow-up video talking about if you're on the internet in the last few weeks, you must know. So let's start with season 1 and like the concept of the show and why it works. So yeah, let's talk about season 1. Um, season 1 story, and actually, what is the story of Winx? Recently, before that video, we rewatched the Nickelodeon first special, which is about the first half of season 1. And then we straight up went to my favorite season, which is season 3, because it was already like 6 hours of watching.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to put my friends through too much content. But here, let's talk about like season 1, and particularly episode 1, 2, and 3, I think. Because it's really the setup of the show and why I think this show is super successful. So the show stars Bloom, which is the main character, the redhead, the very cool character. We see in the first episode that she's an artist. She's cool. She lives in the city with her parents that are generally nice parents. Like, the thing I really liked about the show as a kid and still today is that her parents try. They're not the best, but they try.
Yeah, definitely. Like, they're very understanding and they try their best to be part of Bloom's life, not like invasively, but just trying to be there for her when she needs them, which is very nice. I think we should see more of that in cartoons of just parents that
Yeah,
are
well,
very active in their child's life.
it's a good like way to differentiate this show with other shows of the era, which like all the parents are either supervillains, superheroes. Like there always is a conflict with parents, which is fine, but it was like a nice change of pace.
Or yeah, the
Um,
parents are just not in the show because they don't matter to the main story, which is yeah, it's a very good change of pace, I think, with this cartoon.
Very. So we see Bloom, and then she's like walking in a park, very like nice and comfortably, and she hears something weird. So she goes see what is going on, and she see an ogre or like a creature that is battling a full-on princess slash fairies that has a wing and a scepter and is like trying to kill that ogre, but not very like able to. And Bloom distracts the ogre long enough for what we learn is Stella to overpower the monster, and then the monster goes away. So Stella is the first fairy that Bloom meets, um, which we're gonna talk about the characters later on. But yeah, that was very fun to
Yeah,
see Stella like that. It was a good introduction because Stella
yes,
looks like
definitely.
uh yeah, like Stella looks like the blonde, like a little dumb, like bimbo even. And like she could be really mean, but we see that like the first interaction with Bloom is just like, "Hey, I think you might be a fairy." And then they talk, and then like Stella goes see the parents, and she's super supportive, and she's like, it's a good introduction, and it's a good difference of like, oh, you have like something to accomplish. It's just like, "Hey, you might be a fairy. Do you want help with that?" And
I think we could like compare it to Harry Potter. As much as I dislike Harry Potter, and you do too.
yeah,
The
that's
introduction to the magical world is very different in a way because yes, it's an exterior character that brings uh, the main character's journey on and is like, hey, actually, you might have powers and you might be super important to everyone. Um,
yeah.
but the way it's introduced is Stella is just full on a magical creature, and she's like, oh, right, you should you should come in with me because you could help, and you're probably a fairy as well, and like super supportive. Uh,
Yeah, and not jealous either.
yeah,
Like, because Stella is like on Terraria, which is like Earth, but like she comes in because there is no fairy on that planet, and like she could have been like jealous that there is actually a fairy, but she's not, and she's super cool, and she's like, "Come with me." So that was really nice. And then they go back to Althea, which is the college in the original version, and the high school in Americanized version of the Magics, which is the world of magic. And there they meet the other girls, which are uh, Flora, Musa, Tecna, in the first season. So there are five. So just to recapitulate, there is Bloom, Stella, Flora, Musa, and Tecna. Um, and what I really liked about season one, even though it's really not my favorite season, um, is the way that they talk about their powers. And something that is super important in season one for Farragonda is that their powers stay only for good things. Like they're not like at one point I remember one of the episodes that we watched in the special, they had to clean the school, and it was really important that they do not use their power because the concept is that they need to learn to only use their power when it's important and to still be able to do like common tasks.
friendship is magic.
Yeah, it is, but it is really fun and a cool way to approach this, I think, like an all-girl show that is about friendship. um so yeah, then the rest of season one, Angel doesn't know much about season one, so I'm gonna recapitulate it very quickly. The Winx then discover that Bloom is not only a fairy of fire, but she's actually the fairy of the dragon flame, which comes from a very powerful entity slash deity that is a dragon that can produce a humongous amounts of power, and she has that power in her. And the main villain of the season is Darker, which or Darkar, depending. I'm gonna probably like move between them, Darker, but his powers are the power of the Dark Phoenix, I believe, which the Dark Phoenix and the Dragon Flame have been compared, like, have been explained to be the exact same amount of power on completely different levels. So they are as powerful but opposite. So the rest of the season is basically them fighting. I think it goes into season 2 actually, where they are fighting against Darker. And they see that, like, Bloom is very powerful, but she's not unbeatable because the main villain alone is as powerful as she is. And she has allies, but the villain has some too. Like, I've seen many times the creator of the show say that the inspiration for the show was that he found that there were so many action cartoons for boys and not for quote unquote girls. So he wanted to make an action show that was
Quote
also
unquote girls.
quote unquote girls. Yeah, because, like, obviously, like, as my interactions with the show shows that, like, it was very popular with boys too. Like,
Yeah, no, it's a very girly and unashamedly, like, girly show, but it attracts all audiences, truly.
Yeah, it is a very, like, even if you're a boy, if you like anything that is pretty, you're gonna be, like, mesmerized. Like, that is the concept of the show. It's like, ooh, pretty colors. So the goal was, like, to make one that was more girly, to, like, contradict or, like, go against the all male at the time, like, all boys shows. So there's a lot, but he still didn't want to make it like, specifically girls. Like, it's not like, ooh, you need to clean the house or whatever, even though I had the example of cleaning the school, but, like, it's not, like, stereotypical. Like, there's like, badass, and, like, there are men at another school, which is Cloud Tower. Cloud.
And they're more of a secondary characters, and they don't take too much space. Like, the main characters are still very obviously the main girls and the fairies, and the boys are there in some episodes, but they don't take too much space, and they're not there to become more important than the girl characters.
No, and they also have no power. So they're part of and it's Red Fountain. I remember the name of the school. It's Red Fountain. And they are definitely, like, they're definitely powerful. But compared to the Winx, there's not much that they can do. Like, the Winx have powers, and they just have shiny swords. Like, they're part of the story, but they're, like, you know.
Yeah, secondary. Yeah, which is a cool take on character dynamics, I think, for the time, especially.
Yeah, very. Yeah. So now let's talk about season 3, which I forced you to watch.
Well, only partially.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
I agreed to it, but
yeah, it was long, but, like, it is. We actually watched it in, like, 3 days, I think. So, like, it was kind of a lot to take in. Season 3 was my favorite as a kid, and it still is today. I watched the show up until season 7, I think. But after season 6, I watched it, like, sporadically. Like, when it was on, I would, like, watch it to keep up with it. But not as much as I used to. So season 3, the concept for season 3 is that in season 2, witches, the tricks, which we're going to talk, again, sorry, we're kind of out of order. But the tricks are have the same age as the Winx, and they're in the Cloud Tower, which is the witch's school, and they are sentenced to prison. And in prison, they find Walter, which is the main villain of the season, which is a very powerful magician / sorcerer, and he gets let out. So the world of magics is kind of, like, at stake because he's out there. And the concept of this season is that he's stealing powers away from people. Like, he has a magic box that he can lock powers in. So he goes from place to place, just, like, capturing other magic places' powers. And then, what I really like about this season and the way this show is made is that it is very full. Like, there's always a lot of stuff going on. Because, like, this is the main, like, plot point that is, like, go through the season, but is intertwined with so many small plot points that are resolved. Like, usually, for example, a conflict would be started in episode 1. In episode 2, this conflict would get continuated, and another one would start. In episode 3, the first one would stop, and then a new one would start. So there would always be something new and something ending. So it was always in motion, even though a lot of it was like filler. But there was always something interesting, and sometimes they would take hiatus, like that one queen from Solaria that Stella is jealous about. Like, we see her in one episode, and then like they're mad about it, and then like 5 episodes later, then we see the continuation. So like it's interesting to see that.
It's definitely interesting. It's probably why I had a hard time keeping up with the plot, because my brain just does not work like that. But it was very interesting to see a show do that, because most cartoons at the time do a plot, B plot per episode, and rarely they'll have overarching storylines that stop and start again after multiple episodes. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting part of the show and season 3, and I can definitely see why you would like it and why other people would too.
Yeah, well, it makes it very interesting to watch, because like you have to watch it in order, which I guess not everybody likes, especially kids, but I really like that like story format, because I love telling stories, I love receiving stories, I love like interacting with stories, and that felt like a very complete stories, which I think got worse with the seasons going on. I think like after season 5, it was a lot of like one big overarching story, and then like in every episode of A plot and B plot, which is fine, but like it's not like the first 3 seasons were really interesting about that. Then we talk about Enchantrex. So Farragonda, which is the headmistress and a very powerful fairy, sorry, I was confused for a second. Farragonda, a very powerful fairy, which is the like headmistress, introduces them to Enchantrex. Because in season 1, they're introduced to Magix, which is what you're going to see on screen right now. I'm redesigning the Magix Winx transformation. And in season 3, it's 3 years after the beginning. It's year 3. It's the end of their college experience. So it's like their senior year is made on finding their most powerful fairy transformation, which gets thrown out the window in season 4. But as of season 3, it is the most powerful thing a fairy can have. And the Enchantrex was really interesting. I really liked the way the Enchantrex was set up. Because each Enchantrex quests where you need to selflessly save someone that comes from your planet. Because the concept of Winx Club is that these fairies are in Althea, the fairies' college, to become guardian fairies of their own world. So the goal is that you need to show, like, your powers, that you are able to save someone without further motive than just helping people. So yeah, I really like Enchantrex, and I'm gonna go more in details about the quest when we talk about the characters in just a moment. Before that, another setup that I really liked about the Winx is Domino and Daphne. Domino is Bloom's home planet. Bloom's story is that her parents, like, there was a war, and her parents sent her away as a kid, and Daphne is her sister. And it's very interesting that, like, the Domino plot point only gets resolved after the first movie, and the first movie comes after season 3. So it takes like a whole 3 seasons to have like the overarching plot be resolved of like, oh, you come from this very powerful planet that was decimated by astral witches, and you have a dead sister that is a ghost that talks to you and that is here to encourage you. And also we know that Daphne was a very powerful fairy. She was I don't know if it's set up in this season, but we learn later on that she is the muse of Cyranix. She is one of the only fairies ever to get the Cyranix transformation, which is like one, again, of the most powerful transformation. They like to do that a lot. Be like, oh, this is the most powerful transformation, until we find another one. But I really liked the concept of Daphne and Domino. And
I think it was very cool to have that big plot take place over 3 seasons in a movie, because it is a big deal. It's a planet that was entirely destroyed, and it still affects Bloom to this day, because if everyone from her planet is dead, then she can't really get Enchantrex. And
this
it
was a very cool
was,
plot point.
yeah, it was a very cool plot point. And I also really like Daphne. I don't think I took the time to really understand her character, but I think her design was very, very cool. She was very interesting to look at.
Yeah, she was really interesting to look at. In the first seasons, she's a very cool and collected character. It's like she knows a lot more than other people, even though she's a ghost. Like she's there to help Bloom, and she's kind of comparable to like a dead relative. Actually, she is a dead relative. But, like she's like the archetype of like the dead parent or something that like haunts someone's dream.
The
like,
mentor.
Yeah, the dead mentor.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. And Daphne again gets brought up in later seasons, which I liked as a kid. I'm kind of disappointed now because the first 3 seasons of the show are pretty good at when they do something, they go with it and they don't back off. There's one exception I'm going to talk about, and I'm very disappointed that they backed off of. But generally, they go with their ideas. And I think that bringing Daphne back in season 5, even though it made sense, was kind of like, oh, but why did you do that? Like, you didn't need to. Part 2. The characters. Now, let's move on to the characters. With the Winx, because I think characters is one of the most important part of Winx Club, and what makes it so interesting. The characters are very, very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think in most stories, if you don't have interesting characters, then you can't tell an interesting story.
So let's start with Stella, I think, because like she's, we already talked a little bit about her character, and I think she's really cool. Stella is the fairy of the shining sun, and I think in the original version she's the fairy of the sun and the moon. So she is, she has power over light, basically light, and she has like some heat power, but it's mostly concentrated over light magic. We see her as she has long hair, she's blonde, and like she could be the bitch, like she is like the quote unquote bitchy archetype, but she's really not. She's very sweet.
Design wise, she looks like she would be the mean girl at the school, but I'm really glad that they did not go with that and instead decided to make her just a very kind and selfless person. Well, yeah, mostly
because she's Bloom's best friend. Of course, like she loves fashion, she's a little vain, and she can be a little annoying sometimes. But like she's still a very nice person, and she would die for her friends. Like she's a ride or die, which was a very cool personification.
She was definitely one of my favorite characters.
In season 3, her arc was kind of cool because her dad, like, they go on Solaria, which is her planet, and then her dad is a king, so she's a princess, and she gets hexed by the new queen, who Walter makes deal with people, right? So he was able to make a deal with a woman on Solaria that wanted to be the queen, so she could become the queen and hex the king. And then that person also hexed Stella to become this monstrous blob and make the king think that she's a monster. And like Stella's whole thing is that she needs to look pretty because like that's her personality, like she's into fashion. But even when she's a monster, she feels bad about it, but she takes herself on and she moves on. And her friends accept her. And then we see that her boyfriend accepts her. And I think that was a very, very sweet message, at least for the time.
And I also think it's interesting how throughout this whole thing she still worries a lot about her father seeing her as a monster. It's not because she's a monster, it's just my father usually loves me. Why doesn't he now?
Yeah. So like when I say that that was a cool like message. That moment in the when they're like in the helicopter or whatever, and she's trying to hide from Brendan, her boyfriend, and like at one point her cloak falls or something, and she's like, "Oh, you won't love me," and he was like, "Hey, I've seen you. Like, I didn't want to bring this up because I see that you're uncomfortable, but you are who you are, and I love you no matter what you look like." And it is very kitsch and like very like kind of like cheesy, but I think it was really cute to see that like appearance are not the only thing that matters, and it
Yeah,
was a very cool like story point.
definitely. It was adorable.
And then yeah, she gets her Enchantrex by, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong because I didn't take notes over that, but I do believe that Stella gets her Enchantrex by saving her father. And then she gets her Enchantrex. I think she gets it second, but yeah. What do you think about her Enchantrex design? Do you remember it?
I think it's very cute. I think it fits her a lot, um, compared to some other designs. I love her hair design, where it's reminiscent of her twin tails, but uh,
It's different. It's
it's
up.
it's different and it looks good.
And
Um,
like Enchantex is definitely one of my favorite Winx transformation, and I really like the concept of like they have to look more fairy because in the first season they very look um like power princesses or whatever, like almost superhero like, and in this they're really like archetypally like fairies, and I really like her design. I think it's a little revealing, but at the same time, these are fairies, and I don't think that is necessarily wrong. I think it could be less, but I think it's kind of cool. I love her skirt so much. It is very very nice.
yeah.
One thing I have to commend these people, and I'm going to talk about it again in different concept, is that I really like how these character design stick to a color scheme. So Stella is like the fairy of the sun. So like obviously her color is yellow, right? Not really. Her color is generally oranges and pink with blue accent, which is really like orange and sun are pretty reminiscent, but it's not like necessarily an archetype. Like I like the way that they're more basing the characters over their personality than like their powers or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I love the color design because it's not just one color, it's very much a color scheme, a color palette. Um and blue, yellow and orange do fit the sun and the sky, which is very good. I like it.
It is very nice. So let's move on to the second character that I want to talk about. So Flora. Flora is, all their name says it, but Flora is the fairy of the flowers and generally like organic material. So she can create plants. She has powers over vines. You know the type. Like she has powers over all of that. Um, Flora's, Flora's personality is very very sweet. She is kind of like the selfless mom in the show. She's always there to reassure people. Even though she has some insecurities, she's mostly here to help people and to make them feel better.
She
Um,
she she feels like an older sister, which is what she is canonically. She has a younger sister, and
yeah,
she really
melee.
feels like she cares about everyone in the group, and uh, she's just kind and there for them.
And it's a nice like different take because like also she's like shy, but not scared to stand her ground either, which is a cool like when she's bothered she will say it, which is fun I think.
Yeah.
Um, her story arc in the season is not that prevalent. Like this season really focuses on Bloom, Aisha, and Stella. But her main story arc in the season also goes with her Enchantex. So let's talk a little bit about her transformation. In one of the mission to against Valtor, they have to go on her planet, and there we meet her sister, her little sister Miele, which is adorable. I like her a lot, and
Yeah.
She's so cute. And Miele very much wants to go with them. And Flora doesn't want to for obvious reasons. She's like, no, Miele, you cannot come. This is like, one day you're going to be a powerful fairy like I am or I'm going to be. But for today, just stand back because I can do it. But Miele follows anyway. And the way Flora gets her Enchantrex is Miele's in danger, and she pushes Miele away and falls into this lake that is supposed to like it is like a powerful magic well, and she falls at the bottom, and she would presumably have died because this was like I think it made her like asleep or whatever, and but she gets her transformation, and her transformation is very good in my opinion. I don't know what you think about it, but from my side, I really like the flowing of it. I like the way that it looks like a flower, even though like it's a dress. The
Oh,
hair,
definitely, definitely.
the
Um,
hair is so cool. As a kid, I loved the way that like her hair was so long and flowy, and I think like I don't know if a lot of that show still shows in my art style today, but like hair definitely does. Like this hair really inspired me as a kid. I love her wings, and yeah, I really like that design.
yeah, it definitely looks like a flower more than her Charmix outfit, like
Hmm.
her regular outfit, which is very, very cool. I like it a lot. And once again, color palette. Uh, Most people would assume that green would go for a plant fairy, but her outfits are very pink and purple, which is
Yeah,
reminiscent again of flowers.
yeah, and on that one transformation, she has like a rainbow top, so like she's very like she's very like flowy and like quote unquote girly like in her style, and also like in their civilian outfits, all of them has a very specific style, which they're all Y2K inspired, but they're all very individual character style, which are very cool. And she wears maxi skirt or dresses or whatever. She is flowy, and yeah, I really like Flora's. As a kid, she was my favorite character for a while there, um, until it became another one. But yeah, I think Flora is really cool, and I loved her in the cartoon. Then let's move on to Musa. Musa is a fairy of music, and she has power over soundwave, dance. Like she does a lot of dance moves, and she has a lot of power over sounds in general. All these characters in the first few seasons, at least, have like the same generic powers, but different colors and different names for their powers, which is fun. It is funny. It is like campy and cool. It's a little simple, but like it's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, it worked for a kids show.
So her backstory is very tragic. I think it's one of like the most heartbreaking story, which is like she comes from regular parents on the music like planet of magics, and if I'm not mistaken, her mother dies when she's 4 year old, and yeah, that's about it. And like now she has to grow forever with the thought of her mom dying, but her mom loved music, and so she like kind of lived through that. And she's a very interesting character. She's like in the first season, she was like kind of like the tomboy-ish archetype. Like she had short hair, she wore more baggy clothes. She was very interesting as a character, I think. In season three, they changed her hair to be longer, which a lot of people hated. I didn't mind as much as a lot of people, I think. But now watching it back, I wish it stayed short and like
Yeah,
kept
I
that the archetype.
I definitely prefer the shorter hair, but the longer hair looks good.
Yeah. So her story points in the season is um the way she gets her Enchantrex is by saving this other fairy music students in the school when a library catches on fire. Because of them, they were searching in the library about Voltor, and I think the tricks entered the school and started a fire. And she selflessly pushed the girl away and like quote unquote burned in the fire, but she got her Enchantrix, and yeah, it was like it was definitely one of the most like not rushed, but like it was like a transformation that made the little less sense. Because it was like it was not on our planet. It was like kind of like convenient to have someone, but it still made sense and was not like it was a surprise more than anything.
Yeah,
Um,
it I don't think that plot point was thought out as much as they wanted it to be,
mhm.
which is a little disappointing, but it worked for what was going on with the season.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. Also, the Enchantrix transformation are interesting because they all come in with at least one episode in between them, so it made like there was always one character centric episode that they got their power, and then the next episode was a team episode with only the people who already had the transformation in their new transformation, which was a cool way to develop these characters. Like they were already developed. It was not a season one, of course, but it was a cool way to like continue to develop them through storytelling and like powerful transformations. So like at the beginning, I believe the first one to get Enchantrix is Aisha. I'm not sure, but I think she is. So like
Yeah.
for one whole episode, she is the only one with a power, and then it's Stella, so it's Stella and her, and then it's Stella, Musa, and her, and like slowly they all get their power, which was interesting. It was a I think a cool way to like make it more diversified.
Um,
Then
Design wise, for Musa's outfit,
mhm,
color palette, I really like the darker shades of pink,
mhm.
of like red
Yeah,
ish
it's one of my
pink,
favorite color, like the reddish pink. It is very very good.
and how it's paired with yellow, purples, and blues. Also
Mhm.
very good. It's a good contrast, and it's a good interpretation of
Music.
like what color is music. You can't put a
Yeah.
color on that. So like, it was a good palette choice.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I didn't like this outfit though. As a kid and still today, I think it's the one that is like the least interesting. But I think that comes with a complete change of style. Since in the season one she was like so like the most tomboyish and the least like sparkly. Well, apart from Tecna, but like she was the most like quote unquote plain. And in this one, they're trying to make her more girly, and I don't think I like it.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think it works for her character, but separated from her character, I think it's pretty. But yeah,
yeah, it's a pretty transformation, not necessarily for her.
yeah.
Um, then let's move on to Tecna, which is my favorite Winx.
Oh, me too,
Tech,
definitely.
oh, Tecna is so good. Like as a kid, she's the only one that has like a very unnatural colored hair. Like, I mean, they all have like bright color, but like she has the pink color. She's implied bright pink. Um, which was really interesting to see her character as a kid. She is the fairy of technology. Um, she has a green and purple color palette, which is I think one of the most on the nose color palette for the Winx, because like, but at the same time, technology has no color. But like, if you think about it, like you associate them with it,
Yeah,
or maybe
definitely purple and
I'm
green.
just too used to the Winx and like I associate it. But like, I still like the color palette. Um, Tecna's arc in that season is pretty simple too. She's like the brain of the group, and she's like the one that always finds cool, interesting facts. And like she's like the most almost in the background, but like she was the least favored of the Wings, I think, like for kids, because like she's definitely colder than some of the Wings, which is why I like her. I like her style and I like what she does. Um, and in the season also in the season she has a lot of development with her boyfriend, which I think is like one of the best relationships of the show. Not a lot of them have very much chemistry. Like it's almost like, oh, see, six boy, six girl, haha, let's like have a party or whatever. But I think her and Timmy have the best chemistry because like she is like the strong-willed, strong with a big personality girl, and he's like the more in the background boy. and it's a very interesting dynamic. I liked it a lot.
And yeah, they both have shared interests compared to the other boys, I think, because
Mm,
we don't really see much of their personality, but at least we know that Tecna and Timmy have shared interest in technology, and it's sweet. I like it.
yeah, it is a sweet relationship, which is interesting to see. But yeah, it is definitely fun and sweet. Um, Her other arc in the show is that she sacrifices herself on Aisha's planet by saving one of her own. I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's how it goes. She's saving one of her own, like planet colleague. I don't know, like someone from a planet was on Aisha's planet trying to remedy the situation
I
and
think,
was in danger. Hmm?
yeah, I think it was one of the less explained ones,
Yeah.
uh, which was a little disappointing because we had at least a little bit of Tecna development this season.
Hmm.
But yeah, it just didn't make that much sense. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it was one of the elders of her zenith or planet that were there to help, and I think he was in danger. And the way she gets her Enchantrix is by jumping into like a vortex and to save him. And she gets her Enchantrix, but she also gets swallowed in the vortex, which I thought was a very cool twist. Because then for like 3 episodes or something, we don't see her. Because like they don't know where she is. They like the only person who thinks she's still alive is Timmy, because he still receives signals, because Tecna is very intelligent and has a lot of technology things, but like they all think that like she sacrificed herself and didn't make it, which is very sad, but it was interesting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
it was very cool to, well, very cool. It was very cool as a story be to have her not be there for,
Mhm,
and not even hint at her being still alive, only having the signal.
mhm.
Like they don't cut to the planet with her on it. It's really just, oh, maybe she's still alive, but who knows truly.
Yeah, and then they finally find her on the planet, which is the same prison that Bella was on, and she was wearing this weird bikini, which I was very disappointed about, because like she's trying to get to stay warm, so she wears a bikini. A little confused in the messaging here, guys. But yeah, they find her and like Stella. Tecna is the best. I love Tecna so much. Uh, and I think that her Enchantrex transformation might be one of my favorite and one of my least favorite at the same time. I love her design a lot, but I think that Tecna as a character would maybe cover up just a little bit more. Like I wish it was like a bodysuit and not like a two-part.
Yeah,
Um,
because her Charmix design is covered up entirely,
mhm.
uh, from top to bottom, truly. But in the Enchantix, it's it's still not her, but
Yeah,
it
it is
looks
not her, but
cool.
I really liked it. Yeah, I just wish it was like at least a little longer and like, but I liked it, and I liked the color palette, and I like that they made her like have a almost mullet, which I thought was really cool.
Why
Uh,
almost mullet? That is definitely a mullet.
well, of course it is. Uh, but yeah, she is the best. So let's talk about Aisha. Um, Aisha was introduced in season 2. She is the princess of her planet, which is like half on Earth, half underwater. She's a fairy of waves and fluids. And she was hiding away in the Pixies, which is also the introduction of the Pixies, which we're not going to get into. Pixies are very weird creatures.
No more
Um,
pixies.
but she was the first black girl introduced to the group, which with her makes 3 people of color and 3 white women, which was for the time very good. We're just gonna talk a little bit of inclusivity at the end, but I thought it was really interesting. And her personality as a kid, I didn't love it because like she is very sporty, and just because I didn't relate to that. But now I can see that like she is the most interesting character because like she has a very strong personality. She is very minded. She does what she has to do, and she like truly has the most sacrifices in the whole show. Like she doesn't have a easy life, girl. It
Yeah.
is. She needs a hug. Um. So her story arc in the season is that Walter's plan goes on her planet first, so she has to go to her planet, and it is very dark. Like the mermaids of her planet are becoming like monsters, and like the first thing of the season that she does when she gets informed is that she goes alone to the planet, which leaving the other wings like dealing alone and without her not knowing what she's doing, which is like creepy. But then like they join her and they save the mermaids, and they finally she gets blinded by Walter. Actually, just like she has a confrontation with Walter, and Walter just blinds her. He's just like, you won't see anything anymore. And then the rest of this episode is searching the for an elixir. I think like an artifact that would give her back her sight. Um, and then she goes and she finds the queen of the mermaids, which is in grave danger. She's about to die, and Aisha selflessly gives what the only thing that could bring her sight back to the queen, which saves her. It gives her an Enchantrix. I love the story point because it's like so selfless and so powerful. I only and that might sound like I know it's a kids show, but I kind of wish that they kept her blind. I think it would have been like an interesting like committing to the story point.
Yeah,
It would have been
it would have added more it could have made for interesting character moments. And it could have dealt like the show could have dealt with having a disabled character that just cannot be changed by magic and is just part of her life, and that's fine.
yeah, and like even if they have kept it for the season, like the way that she gets her sight back is usually by getting Enchantrix, like she can save herself, which is like it's kind of like a Deus Ex Machina. Like then what can Enchantrix do? Like it can save anything. Like I wish that if they really wanted to bring her sight back, either they have to go on a fetch quest to get it, or when they defeat Walter, she could have got it back. It would have been interesting too, but yeah, that's the only thing I like sad that I didn't commit on in the season was that, which was it was a choice and it's fine. Um, design wise, her hair is so good, and I love her dress. I don't know if it fits her totally, but I love her a lot. Um, she has two versions of it. The first one is blue and the second one is green. I prefer the blue version because I think the jewel tones are so pretty on her skin. Um, but her color palette is green. Like her color palette in the first season she's introduced is green and lilac. So the second transformation is more like green and lilac, which makes more sense. Honestly, it was probably only changed because the first version they had with like so many colors was probably too hard to animate, so they made it green.
Yeah.
But
I really love her hairstyle because it looks like water, which is
yeah,
it's a very cool choice.
yeah, and it's also like um embracing the fact that she's not white in a way that like she has her natural hair on, which is really really fun. Like she has braids on the front and on the sides, and then the back hair is just like her natural curly hair, which I
Yeah.
really really like. Yeah, Aisha is definitely one of my favorite characters. Oh, I forgot to mention, you may know Aisha as Lila because that's how we Americanized, but it was also in Europe, I think, that they called her Lila. Um, but I would call her Aisha because I don't know, it just fits her better.
It's her canon name that it was the first name she got in the dubs.
Yeah. So yeah, in Italian it is Aisha, so I refer to her as Aisha. And now let's talk about our favorite or least favorite character, depending if you're a main character kind of person, Bloom. So Bloom's story. in season 3 is that she's still looking for her parents and still looking to battle Darkar. And then when she gets informed that her Enchantrix can only be brought back by saving someone from her planet, she realizes that she will never get Enchantrix. Because her parents, like, first of all, she doesn't know what her planet is, and second of all, she doesn't have a planet anymore. Bloom's character development, like, she's a very, I've heard a lot of people call her Mary Sue. I would not go there because she definitely has flaws, but she's a very, like, neutral kind of character. Like, she's bubbly and joyful, but she's, like, normal.
Yeah, she definitely has struggles and problems in her life, but she tries to make the best of it.
Yeah, something I find, like, kind of sad too is that, like, they kind of dropped her being an artist after season 1, which is just, like, as an artist myself, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But, like, it's fine, I guess. And then her story point is that she thinks she's the only one who can defeat Walter. So she goes on a quest to get her Enchantrix, which she finally gets by, like, artificially she goes on a dragon planet and she gets her powers by like, doing the dragon trial. And so what is really cool about that is that they find a way to give her this power, but not totally. Like, there are some powers that the other Winxes have that she doesn't. Like, she cannot transform for as long as them, and she cannot shrink like them. I think that her potion is not as strong either. So, like, it is interesting to see, like, that even though she's the main character, she's, like, the least powerful of them at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting take on having the same powers but given differently. So
Yeah.
One is more powerful because it's selfless and saving someone else. But the way Bloom got it is by working to get that power. So, like, yes, she had to do something to get that power. She had to work for that power. But it's not the same as the natural, quote-unquote, natural way to get it.
Yeah, and I think that made for a very interesting development of that. And her Enchantrix, I think now her Enchantrix is my favorite design. I love the layering. Also, like, can we talk about Bloom's character palette? I think it is so interesting to give the Fire Fairy red hair, well, orange hair, but blue color scheme. It is so brilliant.
Yeah, it's so much better than all the red colored fire themed characters.
Yeah.
Because blue, as counterintuitive as it seems, blue is still a fire color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the hottest type of fire.
Yeah,
well, color of fire.
The hottest,
so,
like, natural fire.
Yeah. So it's very cool to have her be in blue instead of red or in oranges.
And also, it makes for a great contrast with her hair. Like,
Yeah.
her hair is so, like, orange and bright, but her outfits are blue and bright. So it makes, like, color wheels. It's the opposite color. It is very, very good. I love these colors together. And I think that, like, she has the most interesting palette. And yeah, I really, really like blue. Also, the pink in this one to accentuate for the pink. So it's like fire, orange hair, blue, and pink. It is, I really like your design.
Yeah.
So that's about it for the main characters. Quickly, let's talk about the tricks, which are the main villain of the series. Even though they're not, like, the most powerful villains, they always work with the most powerful villains. The tricks we have Icy, Stormy, and Darcy. And there's not a lot to them. They're kind of, like, stereotypical if we want. Like, Icy's the boss of them.
Their only character trait that is consistent is they do evil for fun.
Yeah.
Which I like about them, because sometimes you don't need a big a big reason behind being evil. Sometimes it's just for fun and power.
Yeah, and doesn't make it like less powerful. Like they're just like villains, and
Yeah.
they're just like they're just witches, and like witches are gonna be witches. And it's very interesting to see the Cloud Tower witches interact. Um, like in one of the movies, the second movie, I believe, at the beginning, we see like a reunion of witches and fairies, and like the witches just like poison the food. And like
Yeah.
the director of Cloud Tower is just like, oh, witches will be witches. What do you want me to say?
Girls will be
And it's-
girls.
and it's like it's a very interesting take of like, oh, they're just gonna be evil, but like there are also some good. Like they're evil, but they're not mean. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them are just like, oh, they're like evil, but like we can work with them if necessary. And I think it is a very cool character.
Mm-hmm.
So to wrap up, because it's already been a very long video, let's talk about the settings quickly. What is so good about the Winx' setting is that it is magic, but it is magic set in a technology universe. I think it is so cool, particularly in the first season, to see them go planet to planet where magic and technology interact. Like we have a fairy of technology, but we see that they all have phones. They all have like cars, flying
And
or otherwise.
also, she's a fairy technology from a planet of advanced technology. So like, technology exists everywhere, and it's even like the main appeal of one of the planets. So like, it's very interesting to mix magic and technology, because not a lot of fantasy shows or fairy adjacent shows will mix those two, because they're like, oh well, if magic can do X, then why would we have technology? Or if technology can do X, why would we have magic? So it was a good mix of the two.
Yeah, and like it very much goes on because it's not either the technology of the time. Like they definitely have their own technology in the show, which is interesting to see that it's like their own world that is very much crafted for it, and it is super cool.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like a nice world. The world building is very nice. Like to see different planets with different environments. Like no planet look like each other. Um,
Yeah, that was
it,
that was very interesting to see how each planet is different, and how each of the main six fairies come from very different environments. Um, yeah, it was interesting to see the world building of this.
yeah, the show was definitely good on this. The art style of the first few season, it was fine. It was definitely like cartoon style.
Yeah,
Um,
it was definitely tiny waist, big eyes.
yeah, the proportions were kind of annoy me nowadays. Because I like to have different body types because it's fun
But
to have different body types.
yeah, but it's a very original art style. Like
Oh, definitely.
I haven't seen a similar art style in cartoons, which is good because you want to differentiate yourself. And also the colors are very bright, which is a good. It felt good to see bright colors after seeing all those grimdark reboots of TV shows
Yeah.
nowadays, where everything is muted down, and yeah, it felt nice to see some colors.
It was nice because it was definitely like they went with it. Like if we compare to one of my favorite recent cartoons, Steven Universe, it is still very colorful, but I don't think it could ever go to like the blinding, uh,
Brightness of it.
yeah, brightness, and like it is also like
Because
saturated, but in a good way.
yeah, because Steven Universe has color palettes that are very consistent with each character. Um, and it's good colors because you can easily tell which character is which by the colors, but a lot of the colors are muted down to make it less bright, less eye strainy, which Winx did not do, which is very
No.
good.
Prince did not care. It went all in, and it is very fun because like we watched it with a couple of our friends, and even the ones that were least interested in it, we're still watching it for the like, oh, it's so bright. Like there's always constant like information, and like even if you're like not into it at all, you can just like watch the show for what it is,
Yeah, you
and
don't
like
have to
it's
listen
fine.
to it. You can just watch it.
Yeah, you don't have to listen at all. You could be on mute and you would still be entertained.
I also love how sparkly the outfits are, especially in the first season.
Yeah.
But like even in the third season with the Enchantrex, it's all very sparkly. There's a lot going on, which is good.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. The fashion of the show was also very, very good. We talked a little bit about it with the character design, but the fashion is consistently very, very good. They're in the first few season, at least it is like it's very Y2K inspired. So we have lower rise jeans with elephant pants. We have like
Yeah, yeah.
shorter tube tops.
The civilian outfits are very good. They represent the characters. They're always in the palette of the character,
Mhm.
but not too much so that you don't notice it that much. So yeah, it was very good fashion.
Well, it is enough to believe that it is just like when people in real life have a preferred color, like,
Yeah.
oh, blue is my color. Like it is still like believable that like all of their outfits are not too similar to be like, oh, okay, like it's just like to differentiate. Like it's still different enough for each to go with that. I also love like whenever they had different outfits, like the dresses in that one episode in Solaria was so good. Like there was a lot of fashion that was really, really good.
Yeah.
The transformation were nice. I love Winx. And to end on, I want to talk a little bit about inclusivity. Um, because next video we're gonna do together, if you're still into it, is going to be
Yeah.
about Fates, a Wing Saga, which we already watched, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. One of the things I
Many
want to touch
thoughts,
in
none
this video
pleasant.
before we're gonna talk about it probably in the next video again. But in this one, I want to talk a little bit about the inclusivity. Winx Club started in 2004, had the second season in 2005 or six, I think, and already half the cast were characters of color. We have Flora, that is Latinx, that is based on JLo. We have Musa, that is coded as being Asian, particularly Chinese because she's inspired by Lucy Liu. And we have Aisha, that is a black woman that is inspired by Beyonce. And even as a kid, I thought that was so cool. I'm white, but like it was so cool to me as a kid
White.
to see like none of them have the same tone either. Like to see those like like different characters of color, but also like Bloom is like general white. Stella is more tan because like she's like Californian girls, and then Tecna is like very light because like she spent a lot of time in the inside. So like it's very cool to see these characters being so different.
Yeah, and even on the inclusivity thing, Tecna is probably very likely autistic coded,
Mm-hmm.
which I really appreciated as someone who's autistic. That she's still very much appreciated by her friends, and she's like very much part of the group, like everyone else, despite her differences in mannerisms and tone of voice and everything. So it felt nice to see that as a character.
Yeah, in season one we see it a little bit that like she doesn't catch jokes very much. And like at one point she was like, "Oh, this is for I know what this is," and it was a bucket to clean, and she puts it on her head because like she thought it was a helmet, and like and they were never making fun of her. They were always like whenever like she doesn't catch a joke, they explain to her, and they're very kind to her, even though like and they also she brings something to the table, and it's really they're friends. The main message of Winx that I love is that they're friends, and like they're ride or dies, all of them. They're like just cool together. And I
Yeah.
think that is so interesting to have like friends. Like we have a lot of shows about friends. I don't think none of them catches it that well because like they sometimes don't are not the best towards each other, and like sometimes they're not together because they're mad at each other. But it's very interesting to see friends that are just like friends. They're girlfriends and it's fine. And yeah, Techno was I loved Tecna as a kid, and I love her. like, yeah, that's it. I love this show.
Yeah.
This show was a lot to me as a kid, and rewatching it holds up today. Um, it is like you kind of need to go in expecting a lot of lore to be thrown at your face, but if you're into that, it is fun. It is a fun show. It is sparkly. It is quote unquote girly, and like it goes hard on what it's
And
trying to
yeah,
do.
even if you don't watch it for the plot particularly, you can still enjoy it for the character dynamics, or just how the show looks. It was definitely an appeal to me, because I like reading the books. I don't remember anything about the books, but I do remember the covers. I remember the
Yeah.
covers because they're just sparkly and bright and colorful. So yeah, very good.
So I think that is about it. So thank you a lot, Angel, for coming in with me and taking the time to talk about this brain rot that I've had for like a month now.
Yeah,
Like
well,
more than a month, almost 2 months. And we're gonna see each other very soon to talk about Fades, which
ooh,
was definitely a show. Definitely a show.
definitely a
Um,
show.
so thank you very much. That's about it. I'm gonna finish like the. So here, just to end up, let me talk a little bit about the designs I did in this video. To start off with Musa. Didn't change a lot about Musa. I tried to keep her same vibe because I really liked her early vibes anyway. I just added a little more decorations, some panels that are decorative, and a glove. And that's it. Musa stays basically the same. As for Flora, I kept the same kind of body because I really liked her dress, except that I made it more flower-like and added more of a yellow accent to try to contrast it. I made her also plus size because that's one thing that I really liked about Fates. Actually, I thought it fit her character very well, but I tried to still go into that Latinx culture with her skin tone and not make it white because she's not. I'm really proud of this design. It's one of my favorite of the bunch. As for Stella, I changed the twin tails a little bit, made them little braids that goes into big buffy like ponytails. I also made her fabric really complex, kind of holographic like. I don't know how well it went to what I wanted to do, but I really like the texture I was able to put in, and I'm really proud of it. I also really like the boots that I made. I am very proud of that. The scepter was also very fun. For Aisha, I put a bottom swimsuit, because she's a swimmer. She works in water, so I thought it would fit very, very well. I kept her hair a little shorter but curlier. I also incorporated a red streaks throughout, and just tried to make it look a little different, like more to my style. And yeah, Aisha was not very complicated. I had difficulty with the boots. I don't know if I like them that much, but they sure exist. Tecna was my favorite one to redesign. I've talked about it so many times in the video, but Tecna is my favorite Winx, so I went all in. I kept the long look, except that I made it sleeveless, with sleeves more and gloves instead of sleeves. I also put her in prosthetics because I think that would be interesting to see her part robot actually. I put her hair like that because I liked it. I removed the weird helmet thing because it is cool in the original style, but I don't think it would have been cool in my personal style. And I added shoulders because I think they look great. And the last but not the least, Bloom. I changed a lot about Bloom's design, made it more like one piece with a cutout in the center, and added more dragon-like aspects like on her cheek and on her shoulders. I kept the original boots because they were super cool, and yeah, it was a pretty simple design, and I'm really proud of the colors. So, thanks a lot for coming in. As we said multiple times, there's going to be something else after this. We're gonna have at least one other video on the Winx Club and on Fates, the Wing Saga, which sure was a show. So if you stayed until here, wow, good job. I'm super proud of you, and I hope you stay back for next time. Have a nice one. Hi, have you heard that sweet tune in the background? Yeah, well, it was done by my great friend who did that for me, and it's so cool. So please check him out. And also, all the links for my TikTok, my Twitter, and my Instagram are in the bio. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.